the seed varieties I chose for my small but productive garden and why each one made the cut. Starting off with onion. My go-to onion variety is called Ailsa Craig. It is a large bulbing onion. And by large, I mean large. It reliably creates large, beautiful bulbs. The only time I've ever had an onion not produce a great bulb for me is if it's got damaged by pests. It is incredibly reliable in my garden, and I don't think I'll ever sway away from it. For carrots, I'm trying a new variety this year. I typically grow the thicker carrot. Because I have heavy clay soil, the thicker carrots have typically done better. But I'm only planting carrots in my raised beds this year, and the soil is much better in my raised beds. So I'm looking at the longer, slender, tender carrots this year. So I landed on the Scarlet Nans carrot. I like the idea of having a carrot that's more uniform in size, just to make it easier for chopping and canning. That way, I can have nice round carrots throughout all my canned goods instead of having to cut some in half like I would have to do with some of the thicker carrots. My go-to beet is Early Wonder Tall Tops, and they are the only beet that has ever formed a root for me. I have grown lots of beautiful beet leaves, but I've never gotten a good root. Beets for me just seem to take way longer than the seed packet says they're going to. These say they're a 55-day. I would say they're probably closer to a 70-day. These form beautiful dark red beets, which is exactly what I'm looking for. What I use beets for is to make purple gnocchi. So the more deep that color is, the better the coloring on my gnocchi will be. Moving on to lettuce. And lettuce has to be one of my favorite spring crops, which seems very silly, but I love all the colors of the lettuce. I love that you get a harvest so quickly, and lettuce is just so versatile. Maybe a boring crop to some, but you miss it when you don't have it. I love color in my lettuce, so I try to pick colorful varieties. In the spring, I plant a mix of 3 different varieties. The first one being Butter Crunch. It is a classic and I absolutely adore it, and it gives a fresh green color to my mix. Then I tried this variety last year and absolutely adored it, the Flashy Butter Gem lettuce. It has beautiful speckles of red in its green leaves, and it's like a mix of both, the red and the green. And then I have the Merlot lettuce. Its color is just undeniable. I absolutely love it. It grows well, and I like how ruffly the leaves are. For the summer, my go-to lettuce variety is Drunken Woman. It is heat tolerant. It's said to be one of the last lettuces to bolt, so it handles the heat much better than some other lettuce varieties. Once the temps cool down again, I go to my spring mix, but this is good for those in-between months when it's too hot. This would perform well in the spring and winter months as well, but I reserve it for summer use. So I have a lot of my garden space dedicated to broccoli because we absolutely love broccoli around here. However, I want to get bigger heads this year. Last year, I think I planted stuff a little bit too densely and my head size suffered. Possibly it might have been a variety thing. Last year, I grew the Gypsy broccoli and it performed great. The broccoli on the outer edge of my garden bed got bigger than the broccoli in the center of the bed, and I think that was part of my spacing issue. But the heads weren't as big as the ones I would have gotten the year prior. The year prior, I primarily grew green Magic broccoli. So this year, I'm going to put them to test head to head. I'm going to plant half Gypsy, half green Magic, and see which ones perform better for me. I'm very interested to see if the green Magic makes bigger heads than the Gypsy, or if I was just having a spacing issue last year. Cabbage. I don't like a cabbagey cabbage. I don't want my cabbage to taste too cabbagey. I like it to be more like my very crunchy lettuce. I've grown some varieties of cabbages in the past. They were just too cabbagey. My go-to large cabbage variety is Golden Acre. It is juicy and crunchy, which is exactly what I want from a cabbage. I like to use cabbages as a thicker salad green. We don't really do much in the way of coleslaw. I don't do any fermenting with the cabbage. That's just not my thing. So I really like it in salad mixes or in tacos or that sort of thing. So I like it to be on the more sweet, tender side of things. Golden Acre does that for me. The other variety of cabbage I like is a tiny little cabbage called Tiara. It is a little personal-sized cabbage. It doesn't get very big, which is great to tuck into little spots in your garden. And it matures quickly. So it matures in 45 days. It's great to tuck into places. If you don't have room for a large cabbage or you don't want an insane amount of cabbage all at one time, Tiara is great because it only creates like little pound, 2-pound cabbage heads. Peas. So I'm doing 2 types of peas this spring, a shelling pea and a snap pea. My snap pea of choice is called Sugar Lace. It is a vine that's about hip height and it produces lots of stringless pods. Very important to me when picking beans or peas that they are stringless. I do not want to mess with the string. I want to just be able to eat it and not have to destring things. And then for shelling peas, I picked Bolero. And I picked Bolero because it's said to be a good freezing pea. All of the shelling peas that I do get will be used to make chicken pot pie that will go in the freezer. So I want a good freezing pea. I'm not really intending shelling peas for fresh eating. Snap peas will be for fresh eating. For tomatoes, I'm only planting one variety of cherry tomato, and that variety is Sweet Million. It is a very classic sweet red cherry tomato. It is high yielding, which is very important to me that my cherry tomatoes be high yielding. And I'm not planting any other colored tomatoes except red. I am not a tomato connoisseur enough to pick up the different flavor notes in the different colors of tomatoes. And I want my tomato products to be red when I make them. So we'll be sticking to red tomatoes. This cherry tomato I find matures very quickly too, in 60 days, which I want from a cherry tomato. I want cherry tomatoes as fast as possible. They are what we use for fresh eating. My large tomatoes are mostly for canning and preserving. The fresh eating tomatoes are cherry tomatoes. For my paste tomatoes, I'm gonna grow a Hungarian heart. It is a large, thick, meaty tomato that I use as a paste tomato because it doesn't have very much juice in it. I have had amazing luck with this in the past. I don't seem to have much disease issues on these plants, and they produce beautiful, large tomatoes that are meaty for processing. Love this variety. Very similar variety, except a little bit redder in color, is my bread and salt tomato. It's very similar that it is thick and meaty on the inside and that it's good for canning. And then Amish paste. Also a paste tomato, same sort of thing. It's a little bit smaller of a tomato than the other two, so I find it's better for my tomato spirals. With the tomato spirals, I can't support the clusters, so if the big tomatoes get too heavy and break the cluster branch, I have no way of supporting them. Peppers. I only grow one type of hot pepper, and it's a jalapeno called Black Magic. It is very deep and rich in color, which I love, and incredibly high yielding. I plant peppers as a succession crop when our temperatures are hot enough. I want something that's going to flush out and produce a lot of fruit for me really quick, and these ones do it. They have a 65-day maturity. I've never been disappointed. I use jalapenos to make jalapeno poppers for quick sides or a quick snack, and to can jalapenos. For sweet peppers, I am throwing all my eggs in one basket with sweet peppers this year. I'm growing a smaller red pepper. Because it's a succession crop, I don't want big peppers that are going to take forever to ripen. I want a pepper that will ripen quickly. So I have picked the lipstick pepper. The thing with sweet peppers is I want a thick-walled sweet pepper. I have grown the yellow Hungarian sweet peppers, but their walls are so thin. It doesn't really do it for me. I want to stir fry the pepper. I don't want to feel like I'm eating pepper skin. I'm throwing all my eggs in the lipstick pepper bucket this year. But because I haven't had much luck with sweet peppers in the past, I didn't want to do a bunch of different varieties until I could figure out why I'm not growing sweet peppers well. I wanted to keep my variety consistent to figure out if it's different areas in my garden that have different soil issues. Is it a pest? Is it inconsistent watering? I just wanted to narrow down my variables a little bit and stick to one sweet pepper variety. Beans. My family loves green beans. My typical go-to green bean would be a pole green bean called Kentucky Blue. They produce long, tender, stringless green beans that hold up to freezing very well. I have been so happy with them in the past. However, I'm not doing any pole green beans this year, I don't think. I might find somewhere to sneak them in when we're planting, but right now they're not in the plan because the birds just snapped off all the baby green beans on me last year. So we're shifting gears to bush green beans. I've done bush green beans in the past, and I had nothing against them except that the pole green beans are a better use of space. They grow vertically, which tends to be a better use of space in a small garden. The bush green bean I have picked is called Jade. It is a stringless, open pollinated green bean. It's supposed to have excellent flavor. It's around the same size as the Kentucky Blue green bean, so I think I'll have very similar results. Typically, I would plant the pole green bean as soon as it was warm enough, but with the bush green beans, they're a succession crop for me. They're gonna go in after some broccoli. I'm excited to see how they perform. If they don't do well, I'm gonna be very sad. It's always nerve-wracking a little bit when you're trying a new variety of something that you rely on as a family. So I'm really hoping that they perform well and that I'm not horribly disappointed. The cucurbic family, starting with cucumber. China Jade is the only cucumber I have ever had luck with. It does not get attacked by the cucumber beetle like other varieties of cucumber have in my garden. They are a beautiful, long, slender cucumber, excellent for fresh eating. My cucumber plant last year produced over 20 pounds from one plant of China Jade. We almost had too many cucumbers from this one plant last year. So next is melons. Melons are a big crop for me this year because my kids absolutely enjoy them. That's what they're excited for in the garden this year is melons. And I had so much fun growing melons last year. We're gonna try our hand at a few more. So for watermelon, I decided to do the sugar baby watermelon. I wanted a small watermelon because it's going to be growing vertically, and I wanted one that was quick to mature. This is an 82-day maturity melon, so I'm very excited to see what it does. Then for cantaloupe, we're planting the delicious cantaloupe, and it was in fact delicious last year. It's about a 100-day maturity, which tracks. I believe it was August, September when we were harvesting them last year. So I'm hoping for another great crop of cantaloupe. Even more would be better. And then we're trying the Kajari melon. I have tried the Kajari melon in the past, but not had any luck. I just couldn't get it to grow. I couldn't get it to take off. I'm hoping, since I've kind of figured out how to grow cucumbers and that we grew melons successfully last year, that this year I can get the Kajari melon to work. It is a small, beautiful melon. I really want to cut them open and use them as bowls for some vanilla ice cream during the summer. So I'm really hoping that they work out well because I think that would be so much fun and memories the kids would not be quick to forget. And then I have my squash. So for summer squash, I'm growing yellow fin. I haven't grown this variety before, but it's quick. It's a 55-day, and I like how colorful it is. A lot of vegetables are green, which is good. We like green vegetables. To me, it's not a dinner without a green vegetable. That being said, with my green vegetables, I do want to try to spruce up the color on our plates, and I think using a yellow instead of a green zucchini will do that. As long as I don't snap the darn stem on the zucchini plant this year, I think this will be a very good addition to the garden. And even the stem of this zucchini is yellow. It's said to sometimes even have yellow leaves. So I think that'll be just a beautiful pop of color altogether in the garden. For winter squashes, I'm growing 2 this year and sticking to bush varieties. I have tried growing winter squash up a trellis in the past. It hasn't worked for me. It just didn't seem to climb. Maybe it didn't get what it needed from me. It didn't get enough nutrition. Bush varieties have done better for me. Not awesome, but better. So for butternut squash, I'm going to do Autumn Gold, and it's a semi-bush, very quick, 85 days, which is quick for a winter squash. I'm going to be planting it as a succession crop after some broccoli, so I look forward to seeing how this does. I would love to have a dozen or so butternut squash for the pantry this year. Primarily what I'd like to use it for is roasted butternut squash soup and to make sauce out of it that I can use in place of a cheese sauce for mac and cheese. One of my kiddos doesn't do very well with dairy, but come on, mac and cheese. So I look forward to seeing if this works out for me or not. And then my favorite acorn squash that I grew last year called Goldilocks, and it's a bush variety. It produces an orange acorn squash versus a green acorn squash. It's a smaller acorn squash, which is totally fine for me. It's fast producing as well. It's a 75-day. It's said to be powdery mildew resistant, not of what I saw last year. Powdery mildew is what took out the plants. But I think with some better prevention on my part, that this will be a great yielding crop for me this year. In my next video, I'll break down the strategy I'm using to grow the same 40 pounds of onions, but using half the space.